Welcome to the Boat Dealer Profits podcast. I am your host, Matt Sellhorst, the creator of the Splash System, author of the book Boat Dealer Profits, and founder of Boat Dealer Profits and Boat Dealer Profits Marketing Agency. Thanks for joining us today. We've got an excellent guest. It's Stacy Brown Randall. Now, Stacy is a member of the Business Failures Club, a contrarian on how to generate referrals, and a supporter of the entrepreneurial dream. Through her programs, she provides a roadmap to take control of your business. Stacy is a three-time entrepreneur, author of Generating Business Referrals Without Asking, and host of the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. Stacy has taught her no asking referral generation strategy to hundreds and hundreds of clients and audiences around the world. Her clients include well-known corporations and franchises such as Bank of America, Liberty Mutual, Mass Mutual, International Minute Press, Learning RX, and Real Living Real Estate. But her focus is on small business owners and solopreneurs like Carroll Financial, O'Connor Insurance Agencies, HM Properties, Mozilla Web Law Firm, Ferris Cook CPA, Carolina Business Coach, Slater Interiors, and many more. Stacy received her master's in organizational communication and is married with three kids, a 10-year-old son, 8-year-old daughter, and she and her husband are raising their 11-year-old nephew. So, Stacy, welcome to the podcast. I really appreciate you joining me here, and I'm really excited because I read your book, and I said this is somebody that we have to have on the show. This is information that our listeners, our dealers really need. So, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation with you and your listeners.
Very good. So Stacy's book, as I said in the intro, Generating Business Referrals Without Asking. It's a very interesting take on referrals, some contrarian ideas. So I really want to start with your referral philosophy. I think that's a good foundational point to start with. So tell everybody about that referral philosophy that you have.
So, it's interesting. I think that for so long we have been taught that we have to generate referrals by asking. We have come to believe that may quite possibly be the only way to do it. I mean, for decades and decades, we have been taught that if we want referrals, we have to ask for them, or we have to pay for them, or maybe we have to make them extremely promotional and gimmicky like loyalty programs and things like that. And I think we've been hearing that information for so long. What's gotten us away from the definition of a referral and why a referral actually happens. And so my philosophy is really built on understanding why a referral happens, and it's understanding that it's human dynamic and the psychology behind why someone would actually refer you, and it really has nothing to do with you, right? And so my philosophy though is that if a referral happens because it's someone helping someone else who has a problem, connect them to somebody who can help them, you, right, which is great, but it's not about you. But your job to be able to generate more referrals is to really understand that it's not about asking your referral source to give you referrals. It's about maintaining a relationship with your referral source so that when they do come across the person they can refer to you, you're top of mind because you've maintained an ongoing connection with that person. You're not like the person they haven't talked to in a year or 2 years or what have you. It's really that ability to focus on referrals come from relationships, but the relationships we have to focus on are those with our referral sources. And we maintain those relationships by, connection and connecting with them. And we need to do that in a way that as business owners, right, or people in the business where we can actually have a process behind it, but we never really take the focus away from focusing on how are we going to continue to develop relationships and strengthen relationships with our referral sources, because referrals only come from relationships.
Yeah, that I think that's very interesting. The old school way of saying, here's a piece of paper, write down 5 people that that may be interested. Not only is it somewhat uncomfortable to ask, but on the receiving end, it's like, oh man, I just bought my boat. I don't. That's the furthest thing that's on my mind right now. You're saying that's not the best approach, huh?
It's not. And what's interesting is because it manufactures a referral. And that's what I think people miss, because we've been taught for so long that we can make these referrals happen just by asking someone to refer us. We really do think that we can just turn it off and on. Like, oh, I need some referrals, right? I need some clients.
Yeah.
let me get some referrals, right? I'll just go ask a bunch of people. And what we don't realize is that nobody wants to be asked.
Yep.
And so when you're asking them, you're manufacturing them to come up with something that doesn't actually exist, which is someone they know who needs what you do. And it just doesn't work like that. I wish it did. I wish all the advice that people taught us about asking had 100% hit rate, right? And it had that ability for people to ask and then automatically trigger the results we wanted. But it just doesn't work that way, because referrals are different from just about any other type of prospect or lead that you're going to receive in your business, because it's coming in with somebody recommending you and putting the reputation on the line. And so when we ask, we're trying to manufacture that, and that's just not how it works.
Yeah, it's almost, I've heard it said that it's a result of a conversation about what the service that you offer, that the referrer and the referee are having, and you have to have that relationship so you're top of mind to say, oh, hey, there's a connection here, which leads me into, I really like this part, because it even clarified in my head, and I study marketing, I've been studying marketing for 15 years, 20 years now, the definitions between the different types of, and I'll use my old terminology, different types of referrals, but you're saying, no, there's warm leads, there's intros, there's word of mouth, and then there's referrals. Talk through that concept a little bit, because I think that's really eye-opening for everybody listening.
It's interesting. I think that when we think about all the different types of, let's just say, prospects or leads that we can have in our business, we kind of forget there's more than just cold and referrals, right?
Yeah.
Like there's actually more than that. Like it's really interesting. There's warm leads. There's, like you said, introductions, word of mouth buzz, and referrals. And where they come from, right? Come from different types of sources. But when we're really talking about referrals, the four of all the types of leads that we can have out there, or types of prospects that can be out there, whether they're coming through your Google, your Google AdWords, or your pay-per-click, or SEO, or your Facebook ads, or whatever it is, when we're talking about the ones that come from typically other people, like other humans, we typically just say it's a referral, when in reality, sometimes it's not. It's not a referral. It's word of mouth buzz. It's an introduction. It's a warm lead. And the biggest difference between those four terms, warm lead, word of mouth buzz, introduction, and a referral, the biggest difference between those four is that a referral has two things that those other three terms will be missing. They'll either be missing both or at least one of them. And that is, a referral is always going to have a personal connection. It will always be, hey, Matt, you and I were having a conversation about you needing help with your referrals. I know the exact person that can help you. I'm connecting you over email, right, to Stacy so she can help you, right? So there's that personal connection that happens from that referral source who knows you have a problem, and you trust them to help you solve that problem. And so they're going to bring in the solution provider, us, right, to help solve that problem. So the connection is always there, because that's how their trust is transferred. Remember, there's two things everybody who's making a purchase doesn't want to do. They don't want to waste their money, and they don't want to make a mistake, especially if there's not a return policy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want to waste their money. They don't want to make a mistake. It's why we seek out recommendations. It's why we ask people, hey, do you know anybody? Right down from the, hey, where's a great restaurant you went to? Or, hey, who does your pest control? All the way up to who manages your money, right? Or who'd you buy your boat from? Like it's small and big. It doesn't really matter. We just don't want to make a mistake. And we don't want to waste our money. So we go looking for someone that we can trust, tell us what to do, because more than likely we won't make a mistake and we won't waste our money. So that connection, that trust transfer is huge. The other piece is, though, the need has to be identified. Let's be honest. If I am not in the market for a boat, don't live anywhere near water, actually don't even know how to swim. I mean, I do. I'm just using this as my crazy example, right? But and I actually do live near 2 lakes. But I'm just saying, like, if I don't have any need for a boat, it doesn't matter how awesome I think you are. I don't ever need to talk to you.
Right.
Right. I mean, for that purpose, I don't ever, maybe I need to talk to you for other reasons, but I don't ever need to talk to you about a boat, because there's no need. And so many times people have conversations and it's really they're just being introduced to someone. But the person who's like making that connection for that introduction and saying, hey, you guys should meet, they're not saying why. They're not identifying the needs, because Matt needs help. Stacy needs help. right? And you can help solve it. They're just saying you guys should meet and get to know each other. That's just an introduction, right? There's no need identified as to why we're actually meeting. And so that personal connection has to be there, and that need identified has to be there. And so in an introduction, different from a referral, you'll have the connection, but you won't have the need identified. In word of mouth buzz, it's the opposite. There will be the need identified. I will be talking about you to somebody else, and then the next time I see you, I'll be like, oh my God, Matt, did you hear me talking about you? Were your ears burning because I told somebody the other day they had to go talk to you? And you'll be like, great, who? Like, who is this magical person
Yeah,
that
I need to know,
right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's just word of mouth buzz, because the need was identified. I just didn't connect you to them. So the personal connection was missing. And a warm lead is typically when somebody says, hey, Matt, you know what? This company really needs some help. Here's the contact. Here's their number. And, you know, if you want, you can use my name when you call. The truth is that feels like a referral, except for there was actually no connection made. And using someone's name when you call doesn't guarantee you'll get a call back, or that person even remembers who you're talking about.
Right.
And we don't actually know if that person knows they have a problem, because if I'm not willing to connect you and state to that person, you've got a problem, here's who can solve it, you may not know you've got one. So I may know you have one, and I may know you need to work with somebody, but the prospect has to know that. So then it's just a warm lead. It's just, here's a name, here's a number, call and use my name. It's not really the same thing as a referral. Now, the good news is you can flip any of those into a referral. And it's one of the things that I teach. It's called the flip scripts, where you can take those that are coming that are not referrals and flip them into it. But you have to be able to identify that, hey, I didn't get a referral, so I have to deal with this prospect differently because they're not ready to buy, and they may not have that trust transferred because that wasn't a referral, that was just an introduction. And that's why it's so critical to know the definition of the terms, not just so we're all on the same page, but so that when that prospect comes walking in your inbox or however it arrives to you, you're very clear, well, this is a referral, and I was set up beautifully by my referral source, and I know exactly how to handle it. Or, well, that's a warm lead, and I have to make a decision on if I want to handle it or not. Like, you've got to know how to respond, but you don't know how to respond correctly if you don't even know what you're receiving.
Right. It's common when I was selling hey, I've talked to a friend of mine they're thinking about buying a boat. I told them to get in touch with you. And then, so is that a situation where that flip script would come in?
Yes. Because what you want is you want that connection to happen. You just want to do it in a way that they don't feel like, oh gosh, now I'm going to connect you and you're going to pounce on them and it's going to be awful.
Right. So is that a matter of conditioning or training, or showing your referral partners, whether it be a client, whether it be a marina, another person in the industry, dock builder or something that's referring business to the dealership? Is there training? Is that where that relationship comes in? Kind of letting them know, here's the best way to send a referral so I can take the most care of them?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people look at it from that perspective. I think they start to overanalyze how we have to help our referral sources refer us. The truth is, most of us who are going to be natural referral sources to begin with, we kind of know what this looks like. And most of the time when we don't refer well, it isn't because we don't know how to. I mean, some people don't, right? But it isn't because we don't know how to. It's because we're super busy.
Yep.
Right? We're trying to help somebody, but at the same time, we're trying to get on with our day, right? Or whatever it is. And so it's not about making sure your referral source can qualify clients for you and knows your exact system of exactly what I need to do on the website or in an email to refer someone to you. But it's the ability when they are giving you introductions and word of mouth buzz and warm lead, it's a very simple conversation to flip that into a referral. And most of the time, it's just taking the pressure off of them and telling them, how you do want to receive that person so that you can follow up. Right? So that you can connect, not because you're trying to overanalyze or analysis paralysis of the type of person and exactly what it should look like and exactly what they should say. Sometimes people just need a reminder of hey, thanks so much, but I need you to do this. And it's not technical. It's just hey, could you just connect us over email? Right?
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes it's just that simple.
And the key is going back to, you have that type of relationship with them, that it's not the first time you've talked to them in a year and a half. You've actually had some sort of consistent relationship type communication going on between you during that time. So it's easier to make that ask, right?
Yes, exactly.
So the
Absolutely.
the the three players that are involved. So you've got, and I like how you go into that, and talk about that a little bit. I don't want to give away the terminology you use. I'll let you do that.
So you're talking about the cast of characters.
Yeah, the cast of characters. There you go. I had players on
Yeah.
my notes here, but yeah, the cast of
No,
characters.
I think I call it both, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, so the cast of characters, there's three players, so to speak, right? There's three characters when it comes to that referral kind of triangle, right? So when you think about this cast of characters or these players, there's three people in the triangle. There is you, and you are the service provider. You are the person who's about to get a new client in the easiest way possible. It's going to be awesome, right? So you are the service provider. You're the one who's going to solve the problem. Then there's their prospect. There's the prospective new client. There's the lead, whatever you decide to call it, right? There's the prospect who has a problem, is aware they have a problem, and is open to being connected to someone who could potentially solve the problem, right? Hopefully being you. So service provider is you, and then you've got the prospect, hopefully your next client. Then you have the referral source. And the referral source is the person who knows both of you. Knows the prospect has a problem, knows you're the person to solve it. And they're the person who is actually going to connect the two of you together. And that's ideally how it happens. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to happen over email, though it can happen in a group text thread. And of course, it can happen at an event. It's just much less likely to happen that way. And so these three cast of characters, what people always do when they're thinking about these three players, these three characters, is that they kind of forget who the star is. Right? They're like, oh, I'll ask people, and I do this a lot when I speak from stage at different conferences and to different companies and stuff. I'll be like, in this triangle, right? These three people, these three characters, who's the star? Now, a lot of people think to themselves, well, I am, because I'm getting the new client, but nobody wants to say that out loud.
Right.
Right. No one wants to be like, really, right? But most people then default into saying, well, the prospect is, right? My potential new client, my clients are everything to my business, right? My potential new client is the most important star, is the most important person to this. And I'm like, actually, it's not. It's the referral source. The referral source is the most important character within our little cast here. And they're the most important one because they're doing all the work. And they're making your job easy. And at the same time, they get to be a hero to that prospect by helping them solve their problem. And usually referral sources enjoy being a referral source because they're helping. They're not helping you, though. They're helping a prospect, which is someone they know, a peer, a colleague, a neighbor, a family member who has a problem and they need to solve it. And they're helping them solve it. They just so happen to be helping them solve it by connecting them with you. So you are like bottom of the triangle here, right? Like you are not important, but how the referral source feels about you dictates whether or not you get the referral or somebody else does. So you have the most important part to play in terms of maintaining relationships with that referral source. But in that triangle, your star, your hero is your referral source. And that's who your focus should be on if you're trying to cultivate more referrals.
And I think it's so important that I like that hero language, because they're the hero not only to you as the salesperson or the business owner, but they're really the one of the motivations I see, and that you talk about in your book is they're the hero to the person that's looking for the boat, that's saying, man, who can I trust? And they're coming in saying, I've got you covered. I know who your boat guy should be. I'm going to help you make sure that you don't make that mistake and that you reduce that risk. And that makes them feel good. I mean, that hero language, I think, just wraps that up perfectly in a reframing the way we think about that referral's not doing us the favor. That referral is doing the future buyer the favor. And part of it is they're doing it because they like you, but it's making them feel good. And it's helping their friend or their family member or colleague or whatever it is.
Yeah, so it is about it's about helping somebody else, which makes the referral source feel really good about themselves. And they get an extra bonus of then also helping you. You're just not the focal point or the most important part or the piece of that puzzle, which means when I go ask that referral source for a referral, I'm making it about me. The referrals aren't about me. So that's why our referral sources get so uncomfortable right? And it doesn't work consistently long-term to get referrals year after year after year from your referral sources if you are only asking them for it. And if you're only ever asking them for it, right, that's how they start to see you. You're just the asker, right? You're just the person who's always coming with your hand out. Like there's an article that I love to show when I'm up on stage speaking, and the title of the article is 25 Ways Not to Look Desperate When Asking for Referrals. I am so sorry, but if you need 25 ways to overcome looking desperate, what do you think you look like?
Yes.
When you're asking, you look desperate. Like, this is not rocket science, people. And so that's what I always tell folks is the asking makes it about you. That's where the uncomfortable factor comes in. That's where your referral source can't tell you, I'm really uncomfortable that you're asking me this right now, because right now you're manufacturing a referral, and a referral doesn't happen because of you. It happens because I know someone who has a problem. Like, they can't articulate that. All they know is they don't like it when you ask. That's
Right.
why they get uncomfortable, why they never give you names or contacts, or they'll say, yeah, let me get back to you. Oh, wait, look at that. Look at the time. I got to go, right? There's a reason why that happens. It's because we are violating the human dynamic and psychology, the reason behind why referrals happen. And so we have to figure out different ways to trigger those referrals to happen, because asking, and of course paying commission, right, unless it's regulated in your industry and the client knows commission's being paid, but asking, paying, and making things overly promotional and gimmicky, that's why they don't work.
Yeah, I think it's so important to understand that, which leads into my next question is, why do people not get referrals, or why do they not refer?
Okay, so that's two great questions there, right? So I would say the first one is why do people not get referrals? It's typically because you're not referable. You're not really worthy of referrals. Now, I believe that if you do great work and you have a sticky client experience and you deliver a quality product and you do it in a great way, and yeah, you make mistakes, but you're a big kid and you know how to, right? You know how to put on your big boy pants, your big girl pants, you know how to fix the problems when they happen, and you've got a really good sticky client experience, then more than likely you do, right? You actually you can't be referable, right? So you definitely have the ability to then be receiving referrals. And the reason why people don't refer you, or the reason why people don't receive referrals, is typically because they don't want to put their reputation on the line for something they don't know is going to go all that well. It may also be because they don't know anybody that needs what you do. But if you're talking about a referral source, or that isn't referring you, or you're talking about, wow, I just don't get referrals and I should be, the first place I tell people to look is, it may be you're not paying attention to the fact that there are people who would refer you. But it could also be that you're not referable because you don't have that sticky client experience. You're not doing what you need to do in terms of really maintaining that relationship with your client so that they want to talk about you, they want to refer you, they want to build that brand reputation. And I'm not saying all your referrals come from clients, but you can't have unhappy clients and that not get around. So
Right.
You've got to make sure that you have that sticky client experience. It can't be choppy. It's got to be sticky. It's got to be good. And I think that's the important piece, because I do tell people, if you have a sticky client experience and if you are referable, right, if you are worthy of those referrals, then you deserve them. Hands down, you deserve referrals if you've done the work it takes to run a great client experience to get those referrals. The problem is, though, even though you deserve them, you're not owed them. So you
Right.
actually have to do a bit of work to be able to receive them.
So it's what I'm hearing is it's almost a two-part thing. Is one, you have to do like we'll talk in the retail boat environment, you have to deliver a great product with a great experience, but it doesn't stop there. Then you have to build and maintain that relationship over the long haul. It's both of those, not just one or one or the other, right? I think that's so key to realize that you do have to do an outstanding job. You can't do a shoddy job up front and do a poor delivery and have service issues down the line. But even if you do an outstanding job, you do everything right, the customer loves you, you still have to maintain that relationship. You can't just say, oh, I'm done. And then why aren't I getting referrals? The answer is pretty obvious in that relationship. Let's talk about, as you, in the book, you go through your 5-step process in quite a bit of detail. Let's dive into that. And because I think that's going to help clarify, and even we can give some examples if you're up to it, of how it could apply for the dealers listening.
Yeah, I think that when people are, okay, so let me back up for a quick second. Let's assume you're referable, right? You do the great work.
That's a key. That's a key piece of it, right?
Yes, but we're going to make an assumption. We just talked about that, and you're good. You check that box, okay? But I think what people forget is the first step in the ability to be able to generate more referrals, that first step is to know who's referring you. It's not about what we're going to do. It's not about how we're going to generate more referrals. We got to back up to the place of like, are you receiving referrals now? And if you are, who are you receiving them from? Do you know that list of referral sources, first and last name? And do you, unless it's like hundreds long, do you actually have that kind of like memorized? Like, you know who these people are. Okay. So the first step is really identifying who those referral sources are and making sure we understand who they are so that we know when we're going to go do some things to actually cultivate that relationship to build up those referrals, we really understand where we're starting from. Now, when I say that, and you're thinking about that, from the boat dealer world, like, is that something that you would think that most of these folks should have tracked in a database?
Yeah, they should. I've been writing about it in Boating Industry Magazine and talking about it from stage, and it's something that everybody should be doing. If you're listening and you're not tracking things in a database, you got to get started. It's got to be in a system somewhere. Yes,
it does. And so I ask that because some, industries are like way ahead of the curve and some not so much. And then most industries, there's the adopters and then the non-adopters, right? And so, but the truth is you need to have this information somewhere. And now I tell people when they go through my Growth by Referrals program, at the end of the day, I'm going to give you an Excel spreadsheet to track if you don't have it. And I'm going to show you how to pull this data out using a simple Excel spreadsheet that you're going to input some data into. But it's a really simple process. You need to go back through your clients, figure out how they heard about you. And if they heard about you from a who, right, from a human, then you need to capture that information. And that way we know who our referral sources are. It really does start there. Before we can even talk about getting more referrals, before we can even talk about like what are these things we're going to do for these referrals to make things better, like it really, really, really does start there. So if you got it in a CRM, you know where all your clients came from, you know how they first heard about you, awesome, push a button, run the report. If not, you need to pull out, whether it's a list of clients, right? Or you have to pull out all their folders or whatever it is, your client files, whatever it is, and you got to identify who these people are. So once we know who these people are, two things are going to happen. One, you may determine you actually don't have enough people referring you. You actually don't have enough referral sources. It happens to a lot of people. I was dealing with one person, this guy one time, and he did a VIP with me, a VIP session. The way I work with people is either the online program or VIP, which is more hand-holding. And he did his VIP session, and he started out by saying, I've got 30 referral sources. I'm so proud of myself. And I'm like, that is awesome, because I very rarely get to work with somebody who has numbers like that. But I do, just not as often. By the time I was done with him, he had 6 referral sources. Because he wasn't classifying them. Yeah, he wasn't classifying them correctly.
Right. They were making introductions or they were warm leads, that type of thing.
That, and it was, they can't refer themselves. That's just a repeat client.
Okay, gotcha.
I do see a lot of that. I do see a lot of the networking location will be written down. And I'm like, if you don't know who it came from, meeting somebody at an event, they're not referred to you by that event, right? They referred themselves, which means they didn't refer themselves. They decided, they met you, they liked you, they decided to do business with you, right? So it's just interesting how people think about the kind of sources from that perspective.
Yeah.
So, you're going to either be very surprised by who's not on the list, or you're going to be surprised by who actually is. And what I mean by that is you're going to be surprised by the people who aren't on the list, because you're going to say to yourself, wait, but I grab a beer with them like once a month and we talk business, and I really thought they sent me more referrals than they do. And then you're looking at the list going, but wow, they don't. Now, we're only looking at the list of referrals that actually closed in the client. If you want to do this with all your true data, you got to go back and pull prospects who didn't choose to do business with you and figure out where they came from. And then you'll know your real overall idea of who your referral sources are. But prospects who don't always keep up with clients, we do. They should be somewhere in some kind of system or something. They should be written down somehow. So when we were looking through, like, ultimately, what does this look like? And we're like, wow, I really thought so-and-so referred me. Well, the truth is that you think they do. You spend a lot of time with them, but they don't. And then they'll look at the list and be like, wow, I didn't realize so-and-so was on there and had referred me so many times. I haven't talked to them in 9 months. I haven't made it a point to talk to them without like running into them in 9 months. But yet they're referring me, right? So that's typically what people see when they kind of go through the process. So I just kind of wanted to start there before we did anything else when it comes to referrals, because that truly is that first step of what it looks like. Before I can start teaching you like how we're going to get referrals and what it's going to look like and what are some things we can do, that very first step. It's the first step in my online course, because I tell people if you can't do this step, you really shouldn't go any further, is to identify who your referral sources are.
Okay.
So now that you have that piece, everything else I'm going to tell you will make more sense. So if we're looking at how we're going to generate referrals, think about those identifying referral sources as step one. If we're thinking about, okay, how do I get more referrals from them now that I know who they are? Now, again, if you don't have a lot of referral sources, there's a process to turn people who are not referring you into referral sources. I call them soon to be referral sources. But right now we're just focused on those who are referring, how do we get more referrals from them? And the idea there is that you really have to make sure that you are building a relationship with these referral sources, which means your newsletter that you send out once a month, that's more of your marketing or your prospecting strategy. It's not really your referral plan. You have to make sure that you are not just keeping in touch, but you are actually staying top of mind. You have to make sure that what you're doing while you're staying top of mind is allowing you to be memorable and meaningful. Like the things that people will have impact, where they actually know you care, right? And you care about them, and you're very appreciative of what they do for your business, and you don't take that lightly, and you don't take it for granted. It is amazing how many times people will reach out to me and they'll be like, wow, I just sent a handwritten thank you note, like randomly. It's one of the touch points I talk about in my program. I just sent a random thank you note, and I can't believe the response I got. I'm like, yeah, because nobody's taking the time to thank them in
Absolutely.
all areas of their life.
Yeah,
in that way. Right?
And a thank you email. Hey, thanks for sending Bill over. Doesn't quite cut it the same way a handwritten note does these days.
Exactly, and we want the email to work, right? The same way the handwritten note
So much faster though, Stacy. Come on.
So much faster. Where's my easy button? There isn't one in this process. Right now, there are easy buttons throughout the referral process, not with the handwritten thank you note. I have people ask me all the time, can my assistant write it for me? And I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Like, seriously? I was like, well, will your clients ever recognize that sometimes the handwriting doesn't match? And they're like, probably. I'm like, then no, your assistant cannot. I'm so sorry. They cannot do that for you. And so I think from that perspective is that, okay, now we know who our referral sources are. Now we know that we think with a handwritten thank you note when somebody sends us a referral. Though a lot of people think that's the program. That's the process. Oh, I just got to send a handwritten thank you note following Stacy's language to every referral I receive, and I'm going to have some crazy referral explosion. You will not. You will be remembered, right, in a better way by your referral sources when you send a handwritten thank you note. But what I need you focused on is how are you going to really be connecting and staying top of mind with your referral sources in between the referrals they're sending you and the thank you notes they're receiving because of it. And it's this idea of being memorable and meaningful with your outreach, which I call touch points in the program, where you stay top of mind and you know how to plant a referral seed, which really is the secret sauce, is the language we use is really the secret sauce to have people actually refer us and do it where we're really in their subconsciousness thinking about us in that way.
I want to stop you right there. I want to highlight that point. What she said, what Stacy said was it's the language. And earlier as we were talking, you talked about the psychology. You didn't just pick the easiest, simplest words to put in this note. My guess is that it was through trial and error you discovered the language that was most impactful to get the result that you want. And following a system like that, it's so important to be precise and exact with that type of language. Do you find that as people go through your program?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I wish I could tell you, like, I was just so brilliant in the beginning. I just knew what to say. I am not that brilliant. I do believe language and communication and messaging is my superpower. And I think that's why the language piece is what trips most people up, and it's probably the most valuable part of the entire program. I mean, most of what I just taught you, being memorable and meaningful with your outreach and writing a handwritten thank you note and identifying who your referral sources are, right? All those things, it's like, duh. Like, now that you know them, it's not like you need someone to tell you how to do it. You probably need someone to tell you how to do it in a way so you don't make your referral sources mad, right? Or because you can definitely do this incorrectly with your outreach, and you can make it not good. I've definitely seen some people bomb their outreach because they're not paying attention to just some certain ways that we actually want to do our outreach that's memorable and meaningful to our referral sources. But that secret sauce truly is to get them thinking in a subconscious way, to kind of move into that psychology idea behind why they would think about you, not just because they're grateful that you're acknowledging them, but then also think about you for more referrals, is in the language piece that we use. And that really, truly, as I tell people, that is the secret sauce. It has its own standalone module inside the program because it's something I want people to get really comfortable with. But here's the awesome thing. There's nothing in the language, when you truly look at it, there's nothing in the language that if you read it out loud or you wrote it to someone or you said it to someone else that you'd be like, man, that's awkward. Because everything's written to be very normal. Because it's when we talk and communicate normal, the way we normally sound, that's how I'm hearing you. I can tell when you're trying to remember a script off the top of your head. So I keep things really simple. I keep them simple because I know that's the best chance that anyone will do them. But I keep them simple because I want this to become just a way that you run your business and you just know this information. And if I keep it simple, I'd get a better chance that you'll actually learn it the way I want you to learn it.
So can you give us an example of that memorable and meaningful concept?
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, there are a number of different ways that you can connect with your outreach or your touch points, what we call it inside the program, that you can connect with your referral sources. So there's a number of ways. I'm going to give you one idea. And what I don't want you to hear me say is that this is it, right? So I'm going to give an example that involves a gift. And when I say that word, I know people are like, I got to send gifts. No. That's not what I said. What I said was I'm going to use an example I know we all can visualize if I talk about it from a gift perspective, but I have lots of people who come to me and they're like, I've got no budget. I'm like, shoestring budgets are preferred, actually. You do not need to be lavishing up your clients with all these crazy gifts. That's not what I'm talking about. But sometimes a gift can help you be really meaningful and memorable. A handwritten thank you note can do the same, and that's 50 cents and a stamp, right? Yep. So I'm pretty proud of myself that I remember to say 50 cents and not 49. Just changed price. So, when you're thinking about it from that perspective, let me just give it to you I'm going to talk about it from a gift, but that doesn't mean you have to do gifts, okay? I know that when I was a productivity and business coach, so one way that I grew my productivity and business coaching practice to growing it to receiving over 100 referrals every year was through this process that I now teach people. And because I did it in my own business and my small business owner clients, which is mostly who I coached, started saying, how are you doing that? And teach me how to do it, right? So from that perspective, this is a lot of trial and error. But when I was a productivity and business coach, and now I've had hundreds of students go through, so I really get to see the trends. But when I was a productivity and business coach, I knew that my ideal client was a parent who owned a business, or if you prefer, a business owner who was also a parent, whichever, right? And so those were my ideal clients. Well, it just so happens that my referral sources were somewhat identical to my ideal clients. They did happen to refer themselves. It doesn't happen in every business, right? But it does happen in some. And so for me, my majority of my referral sources were working or business owners who were parents, some working professionals who are also parents, but a lot of business owners who were parents. So in the program, we talk about off-guard holidays to catch someone's attention. Right? Sometimes the element of surprise or just being funny is the best way to be memorable and meaningful. It's not always heartfelt. I'm not trying to make someone cry. It's not what we're after. And so because I knew that they were parents who were also business owners, I recognized my off-guard holiday was Mother's Day and Father's Day. Nobody expects to hear from their referral source, from the person they refer business to, right, on Mother's Day or Father's Day. Christmas, yes. Thanksgiving, yes. Maybe Valentine's Day or the beginning of the year or 4th of July, but not Mother's Day and Father's Day. But so for Mother's Day one year, I sent all of my female referral sources who were also obviously mothers, and it's something different if they weren't, and I sent them a Wonder Woman water bottle. And on the card, On the water bottle, it said, "Never forget, you are a hero. Happy Mother's Day, Stacy." Now, when they removed that card, there was nothing on that water bottle that said my name, my website, my logo, call me, here's my number, give me more referrals, nothing. It was just the Wonder Woman water bottle. But do you really think they ever forgot who gave them that Wonder Woman water bottle? No, right? They never actually forgot who gave them that water bottle. And I think that's the important piece that most people forget, that most people overlook in their desire to like push people in to like, remember to refer me. They try to use language. And I just said, hey, I see you. I see you right where you are. I did something different for Father's Day, right? But basically I said, I appreciate you and I value you and what you do matters. And that's what I focused on. And that's what that touch point was all about. And that's why it was so critical and why it worked, is because it was memorable and meaningful. And I didn't even plan a referral seat in that one, which also works well, you know, too, when you're dealing with people. It's like you don't always have to plan a referral seat, but it got them to a point where they were like, wow, I get this. I definitely see this.
So I think one of the things that's interesting is being on a shoestring budget. It actually makes you be more memorable. It makes you come up with something that's interesting, like that Wonder Woman water bottle, which I'm assuming was fairly inexpensive.
Oh yeah, if I remember correctly, I think they were like $9, and then I just had to obviously deliver them or mail them.
Yeah. So I think that's great that that you have that impactful gift and not an extravagant gift necessarily, but something with a message that's going to resonate and stick with them.
Absolutely.
So let's move on. We're at step number 2?
So actually that's more like step number 1 is identifying a referral source. Step number 2 is that handwritten thank you note when you receive a referral. Step number 3 is really, it's that how are we going to be meaningful and memorable with those touch points and that outreach. Step number 4 is, of course, the language piece we're going to use. And like I said, I didn't plant an actual referral seed in that card. You don't always have to plant referral seeds with your referral sources when you're doing consistent touch points with them throughout a year, because they definitely get the language they need without, you know, overdoing it. And then really step 5 is what your referral sources ultimately need that people forget is that they need an experience. Now, they will never articulate it this way to you, but they need an experience. They truly need to understand, like, wow, Matt cares about me and he's appreciative of what I do and he's always trying to help me, or whatever is the feeling that your outreach, that your touch points are going to evoke. And from that perspective, like, so they need this experience of this feeling they have for you can last longer than a one time. It's no one-hit wonders, right? It's like all year long and all next year and all next year. I mean, I have somebody who's on the program right now who's been doing the Growth by Referrals program. They're in their 5th year. And every year they have set a goal of typically, well, they start out lower, like at 12 the first year, but then 25 to 30 referrals every year after that, and has hit it. And last year in 2018, hit 40 referrals. And they can only take about 10 to 12 clients a year. So that's way more than they need. It just allows them to be really picky and add staff and all sorts of great things. But the truth is that this is something you do ongoing. You don't just do it once and you're like, great, I didn't get anything, or I did, and where'd it go? It's an ongoing thing because you're delivering on that referral experience, right? But what you need, because you're busy, is you need a process. And that 5th step is really the ability to take what you've built, those touch points and that language, knowing who your referral sources are, and build a process around it so that you can make it happen.
Yeah, that automating and using systems is so key, especially in the boating industry where it's very seasonal, and you're running 100 miles an hour from February to July, and you've got to have it in some type of a system and know what's going to be coming up. Well, Stacy, that is fantastic. I really love that 5-step process, and I like the way that you think about the referrals and the touch points, that it's not just something that will randomly happen, but when you really put some thought and put a system into it, you can get consistent and ever growing results too, because it kind of snowballs on itself from what I'm hearing.
It really does. And here's the thing, though. It will not start at a snowball or an explosion level. It'll start at a trickle.
Yeah.
And that's how it's supposed to work. And but you have to keep doing it to get it to the level you want it to be.
Yeah. So do you have, let me ask you this. Is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have?
No, I mean, I think having people understand the definition of a referral, understanding that it's different from your prospecting and your marketing, understanding how it's different from the other sales terminology, and then recognizing that what you're truly leveraging here and triggering here in a very authentic and genuine way is those relationships with your referral sources. Like once you have those pieces, then people can start understanding that, hey, this is doable. This is something I can do, right? And obviously there's resources out there for people to figure it out. There's my book, my podcast. Obviously I have my program, Growth by Referrals, but none of this stuff is rocket science, except for maybe the language piece. None of this stuff is rocket science. And this is things people should be doing. So I think you hit on all the important parts.
Well, very good. So you mentioned your book, you mentioned your program. Where can people go to learn some more information and to buy the book, which I highly recommend?
Well, thank you so much. So the book is Generating Business Referrals Without Asking. You can buy it wherever books are sold, online or in bookstores. Sometimes if your bookstore doesn't have it, they can always order it for you. But definitely the book's available on my podcast is Roadmap to Grow Your Business. It is not industry specific like yours is. So you'll hear me talking about lots of different industries and different topics. And then also, of course, my program is Growth by Referrals. But the best place to find all that information is on my home base. It's my website, stacybrownrandall.com. There is a quiz on that website. If you want to know how you stack up to some of the information I was talking about today and how well you generate referrals now, you can take a referral ninja quiz, 9 simple questions, right? Take that quiz, figure out, are you a referral ninja beginner, in training, or a master? And then it'll show you what you can do if you're a beginner or in training to get yourself to the master level.
Yeah, and I believe I was not a ninja. I was in the training level, if I remember right when I took that quiz. So it's very eye-opening to to put Stacy's framework around our business and the way we think about referrals. So I think it's fantastic. And Stacy, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. I've had the best time. I appreciate it.
Well, I want to thank Stacy Brown Randall for joining us today. Remember, you can learn more about her at stacybrownrandall.com. You can check out her book, Generating Referrals Without Asking. You can check that out, and you can check her out on all of the social medias. You can also, if you're a dealer or manufacturer that's looking to get a leg up and to improve the results you're getting, we've got our most popular report, 11 Ways to Sell More Boats Now and Forever. You can get that by going to boatdealerprofits.com/11 ways. You'll not only get the instant free report, but you will also get a companion video series that has a lot of additional details, and I give you some more behind the scenes information that are better distributed via those email or via those videos. So that's at boatdealerprofits.com/11 ways. If you've been following me, listening to the podcast, reading my boating industry articles, seen me speak all over the place, you may want to take advantage of a one-on-one strategy session. We call it a profit maximizer strategy session, and you can do that by going to boatdealerprofits.com/profit maximizer. And from there, it'll ask you a few questions. You can actually book it directly on my calendar. It's super simple, and that way you can coordinate it right there on the spot. We make it real easy. If you're a manufacturer, we are booking dates for manufacturer dealer meetings. Matter of fact, we just booked one for Germany, so I will be heading over to Germany here in several months to do a big dealer meeting there. Super excited about the international travel. But if you're a manufacturer looking for an industry specific expert talking sales and marketing, whether it be videos, whether it be social media, whether it be sales strategy, follow-up strategy, we can customize something directly for your dealers If it's a sales training for your sales staff, we can customize it directly for them. Because we're in the industry, we have the expertise to mold and match exactly what you're looking for and deliver an engaging, an interactive, and a very profitable, something that will get results immediately. In every session, we try to give a strategy, a tactic that can be implemented that night so they can start seeing results right away. And that helps with the overall excitement, motivation of it all, and getting boats sold is what we're all about. So you can go to boatdealerprofits.com, just click on the manufacturer's link, and in there you will find inquire about dealer meetings or inquire about speaking. I'm not sure how it is language there, but we only do a handful of those every year. It's not something I'm on the road every week during dealer meeting time, but I will schedule the right fit for the right manufacturers. If you're interested, reach out and we can have a conversation to see if there is a match there. So thank you very much for listening to the podcast, and we will talk to you next time. Take care, everybody.